in a way which I have seen few teams do. They are incredibly proficient at doing that. Of course, they're doing that versus Tempt. And Tempt is the best defensive laner in our league. When you try and exploit him, typically he's going to outplay you and he's going to get out of those situations alive. So this is a really interesting matchup on that front. Of course, this is also a matchup, a battle, you could say, of the big boys. Last two teams fighting for that real second place. They are behind, of course, Riddle and Dusty, but they're within reach. They're trying to put their names in the hat. So an important question for me to you, Sam. Which one's Ramsay Bolton and which one's Jon Snow?
Oh, this is a battle of the illegitimate children, is it, to keep that broadcast friendly? I'm going to wait on that because...
Jon, no!
To get so much danger, does have the E, but it's not going to be enough as a fabulous Q over the wall secures first blood for Taxa.
And now his watch is ended.
I was about to say X7 are clearly Jon Snow because they were the prince that were promised from Spring, and he's already dead, and he's going to need the red priestess to come and bring him back to life.
I really don't expect those references to work out so much. Can we get a really dramatic shot of this? I really want to see this because this is really sad. This is some good prep from Astralis. They've probably tracked out what's happened with X7 at their level ones, and oh, it feels so bad here. Chasey is picked up into a volatile snowball matchup. Now, not ever since the durability changes, the losing matchups he did have, he can survive now. And with no flash and having to start E on the irrelevant, I mean, you can start E into the ignore anyway, it's whatever, it's not really the biggest thing. But being forced to and not having flash, it just gives Carlson a massive degree of safety to play with now.
And Taxa gets the path towards the top side where he can look to impact this in a couple of minutes' time. And with Chasey with no flash, if Carlson can manage this wave well, there is definitely a world where Chasey is left in a very large hole with not a huge amount of room to get out of it. However tricky this matchup is supposed to be on paper anyway.
I mean, you should still be able to farm okay on the Aurelia versus no. I mean, you get to clear through that wave, and whenever the wave is pushed into you as the Aurelia, you're happy because you get to dive beyond the back minions and then take some hard trades, particularly if you can't land a stun, use a first Q onto them, and then hop back to the wave. I mean, we saw Backlund doing similar fancy moves on the Yasuo, using those minions as mobility. It's not to ruin all of the great Aurelia clips out there, but when Aurelia makes outplays, it's typically when there are a load of minions for you to just kind of do the fun mobility thing and stack up your passive, right? And if you have space to do that and the wave's in the right place, it makes things fairly easy to do so. But again, being set behind in this matchup just means that the kill threat isn't really there to have the real explosive plays.
Not yet. Anyways, of course, Kiba as well was one of the big proponents and reasons that first blood came off. A very well played double bandage toss, once to get the initial stun and one to follow up over the wall. Of course, this is the guy that came in to replace Wamoda, and he might be in trouble here as they're thinking about potential dives.
Well, but this is, so we don't have a Kalista in the game, but this is what you should do if you did have a Kalista, which is you just fight bot lane around your wave push. Of course, Kiba spots this out. Really intelligent play from Kiba, knows the timing, says, okay, there's a chance that there's like a clear from top to bot coming down towards us. Tempt had prio in mid lane as well, and they know that Viking is on bot side. Kiba's spotting this out, but Crispberg is still under turret. They should know this is happening.
Right, time to make like Season 8 Worlds and prove yourself and Rise play. They're going to get the stun under tower. Kiba rooted up and taken down, he says, but he's down, and now with the tower shot, Viking falls a 1-for-1.
Oh, the double bandage shots coming in so important, but the cross side is here on top side.
Casey's trying to outplay this one, but it is a 1v2, and he might have a Defiant Dance, but I don't think he's quite got the damage. Got the fully stacked passive as I finally get the phrase. Now trying to dash away. Taxa, though, should surely be able to follow up, waiting for that passive to fall down. Dives back through the minions, but he's just not got enough. Double stun, though. Continuing to trade out, but just does not have the damage. And it's a 2-for-1 across the map.
Look, it's the Aurelia play with all the minions. He tries it. It really does. And you can see how slippery this champion is and why this champion is so infuriating to play against in so many different circumstances, but doesn't quite work out for him. And actually, in the cross-map scenario, Astralis come out so far ahead. They get to win on that top side at level 1, and again, just now in bot side, they make it even. They haven't... Oh my gosh, that's a good catch.
Singh takes so much damage, and he's not got a W available. He's about to fall! Crispberg gets that one. It's now a 2v1. Kiba on this Amumu is making everyone else a sanity is.
Oh, and one of the few changes Astralis made from spring into summer was bringing in not just coaching staff changes, but Kiba as well. And look at that level of play. It's intelligent. It's scouting out the enemy. It's outplaying them under tower and in the lane. Kiba on the Amumu making things work early, but he's not on the top side of the map. Viking is, and Tax is going to have to cover for Carlson.
Taxa is there, and this early game has been all about the jungle and support. Teleport in.
Room Prison.
But they will get countered by the Room Prison. Now a 2v1. Tax has gone in, but this passive is stacked again from Aurelia. Looking for another Q. Gets onto the minions to get the shutdown. Now needs to work out what they're going to have. A flawless duet flash from Carlson makes that a 1-for-1, and Viking now in this extended trade is going to have to back away, surely. Throws down the thundering smash. He's got nowhere to go. He's so slow.
He has Mega. Can he get there with the slow?
The Hyperproc comes through one more time. Now the Mega's in for the wallop, but just shy.
Oh, he uses the W to trigger the transformation, but both top laners really feeling it. Sada 0 and 2, he gives a damn chase. He traces back in for that 1 kill on the top side. I'm loving how active these teams have been on cross maps, on calling out each other on the various areas of the map. The way these junglers have moved between various sides, top to bot, bot to top, has been so creative. Sadly for both teams, their supports haven't really been able to join the fray either side. If an Amumu had managed to get a reset on at some point, it would have been crazy. Instead, he's doing it in mid.
Done. Bandage toss comes through, and actually we are more done. I set that one up for some more action that didn't really occur. Nice angle from Astralis, but they can't quite make it work. They are, however, up about 1,500 gold off a lot of those early plays. We have said before in the past that Astralis, if they don't get things rolling early, can fall apart a little bit. Thus far, those early plays from the level 1 in both side lanes have been pretty impressive from them. They are up a number of kills.
Keeps at it again.
They might be at it again.
Oh, it's
land the bandage toss, but there is the cleanse over the wall, and there won't be a second one to follow up quite yet.
They actually popped the spray and pray. Chrisberg, no ultimate on the Twitch. That's down. Hit the level 6 at that point. It was a great timing, but is it good enough to stop them from this? Where's the bandage toss?
Axa is around, and he will have some options. The bandage toss is in, but Chrisberg's got nowhere to go. Quick kill, and out they go.
Well, that's another tower shot. Can they actually...
Ooh, flash out from Tempest. It means that the Q will not land from Taxa. No one else really available, and Astralis will have to back away down their AD carry.
Real rocket fuel for an early game. We've seen so many teams kind of hesitant to start up the big fights, but none of that today. At least in this game, Astralis playing around their jungle support. Taxa, Kiba doing so well at finding the right skill shots, finding the right places to be on the map. But the thing for Astralis to kind of focus in on their side of it is typically when they have made plays early, it has benefited Senkirks. He's actually not had any part in this so far. This hasn't really been where they've typically been succeeding. There's been anywhere but mid lane. Does mean that both these mid laners have been spared the woes and wheels of the side lanes, but they are on roaming champions. Maybe the next time they go for the big plays, they can turn up to the party.
Still got a 2-0 Zeri. You've still got an Aurelia that got a shutdown and a fairly significant CS lead. And of course, Carlson without the flash. Now the level 6s have come through. Needs to be a little wary, and that means that Aurelia, while down, is certainly not out and has to be considered something of a threat. Herald has spawned, and Carlson, nowhere near Mega, might have to be a little wary if this Herald gets started up.
It is getting started up as, well, no, rather, Vikings is taking the Scuttle Crab, but you don't have the X7 bot lane roaming up to this. I think that's a fair shout. I think that when you're playing against a Gnar, who's just about to get their ultimate back, and you have, of course, enemy bot lane kind of having the extra timing on you as their reset. I don't think it's worth doing that. Play towards your lanes, get that guaranteed income from those turret plays. That's more than fine. X7 happy to not take the fight this time.
And of course, we've kind of set this matchup as that kind of the additional big matchup. There's kind of these outside chances of hitting that top 2. X7 just a little ways behind that. Astralis a little bit before that, as well as Taxa on vision, means he's unlikely to make the play up here work right now. But Astralis have been much improved from spring, but have struggled to get wins against those truly top elite top 3 teams or so. This would be a big win to put themselves still in contention, just one game behind the likes of Dusty and Riddle.
It's great that you bring up that point, because actually there was a huge moment for Dusty, who currently are sat at 11 wins, who are tied up with Riddle on that second place, the place where both these teams would love to see themselves at. And Dusty beat Astralis for their first top team victory. That was really what started them off on their rise to the top. We'll see how far they can go. Of course, calling them dark horses, but Astralis have been on the worst end of the losing end of that kind of loss to top teams. If they could beat X7, beat them down, that would be such an important moment for them and potentially kick X7 into being picked as a 5th or 6th place team. They would have to be sat there in the bottom bracket. Of course, so many people talking up this team, saying, oh my gosh, this team is so strong. They are looking like an incredibly strong team from the interviews that we've had, but they do need to really keep it together. They are still coming in after a very big change in the jungle. Viking has changed the way that this team wants to play. They're playing with more patience than potentially they did with MC. But is that patience going to be enough this game? It really hasn't been about that. It has been about throwing the punches out across the map on the other side of the play, trying to even things up in a wider sense.
Indeed, and the gold is pretty close, about 500 of that apart between them. The difference really right now is, of course, the Herald in inventory for Astralis. But, of course, as this game goes on, Rise Aurelia are very dangerous in those side lanes, very capable of controlling the split push pressure. And, of course, you've got a Zeri at 2 kills already with a Yuumi that's been able to free scale largely, and that means that X7 relatively happy with how this is going, but Astralis also, you know, not unhappy with the fact they've got some gold in some good places as well.
Absolutely not. And I think when you have, you managed to at least nullify a little bit of what the Volibear wanted to do, kind of make it even in place. Temp's actually caught out here.
Flash bandage toss follows up with a sonic wave, resonating strike, and Taxa will help secure a kill onto the mid lane. Their first row mid, and they make it work. Second.
It takes a while, but Astralis find their way back to that mid lane, place where they found so many victories. The last couple of weeks, it's been the lane which they've been so good at really punishing, even though Tempt has been such a good mid laner, playing defensively. Been seeing it right away from the start of this split, playing stuff like the Azir and just shuffling away from whatever he can. Can't do it in this one. That's going to be the Herald putting money into that mid-jungle 2v2 again. Such a place of success for Astralis.
Not quite a third plate, but I think with this wave coming in, it will be secured shortly enough, and that's nice for Astralis to get those plates and that kill and extend the gold lead, which had been dwindling for them, and that's Senkuk's first kill involvement, which is great news for him, and surely this plate falls. Surely it does. No, the EQ combos from Rise a little too strong thus far, and finally falls. I believe Senkuk's was in range for that.
I actually wasn't watching that. I was watching what build Tempt had. I was like,
oh, fair.
What's happening with that damage right now?
Chapter, what he's got.
Yes, and you know, you expect that whether it is going to be something like the Everfrost still, of course, that's been an item which has been hit so many times because it was so pro-back relevant. Well, they're back again. They got a volley barrel. He's got a flash. Maybe you can use that this time.
May need to use it. Not quite burned yet. And does get to walk away from that one. The stolen volley barrel doesn't get as much done as they might like, as Attila and Kasing look to try and shove in onto this bot side and secure a plate for themselves. Can't quite make it work as Kasing takes a tower shot. Of course, it's Yuumi, and so can make himself somewhat invulnerable by using somebody else's health bars. Top side, Chasey lands the flawless duet, but Carlson goes towards the Mega, and thus will be able to mitigate some of the potential damage coming through. Viking onto Taxa, though, and there's a lot of trading going across the map in general right now.
And again, both these teams, I love to see this fast-paced gameplay. What can they do?
Fast-paced indeed. Taxa goes in, but can't get the kick because of a fantastic stoppage, but what can Tempt do? Flashing to the other side. Viking does go down as Tempt will not take the Realm Warp, and Attila trying to trade out best he can with the Lightning Crash running. Taxa finds Tempt.
They're looking to continue. They're trying to bail him out.
They are indeed, but now Taxa, Kiba, Chrisberg in the 3v2. Asenko comes back to make that a 4v4 as Chasey's teleported in. Flash Vanguard, there's one quite well, but Kiba left in no man's land, rooted in place and taken down.
Oh, that was really nicely coordinated by X7. As soon as Tempt goes into that realm up, or Astralis say, okay, we're going to call your bluff. Let's go towards the exit location. Chooses not to take it. But this is such a night and day difference for X7. Remember, last couple of games with before the change when they were teleporting into the middle of teams and dying for it. It was so disjointed, but looking much more coordinated in this instance, more on the same page. This is what we want to see from our reigning champions. X7, definitely not at the top of the tree, but trying to make their way back there. That's the kind of play which gives you hope for them.
Does indeed. Of course, Taxa's here to make sure there's no real way to get any more plates, and of course, because Chasey teleported in, it did mean that Carlson, left alone on that top side, got to claim 2 plates for himself, now traded back for 1 the other way. And X7 will take that as a relatively okay trade, all things said and done, with plates now falling.
So, gold stayed very even. Still slightly to the favor of Astralis. You do get the feeling, at least I do, that it is going to be a little hard for X7 to play out teamfights the way that they want to. One of the reasons I was looking at that Rise build a little earlier is I was wondering how much burst he was going to go towards. Of course, he is still going for that Everfrost. Question yet to be answered whether that is going to be towards the Everfrost or the Fimbulwinter. We've seen more Seraphs.
There is the Everfrost.
Everfrost, yes, but Seraphs.
Oh, sorry, yes, I heard that was like Everfrost or Fimbulwinter. I was like, what?
Yeah, Seraphs.
I was busy checking with the gold top side where Chasey's got himself a decent lead and
Well, he's
Tax
also
on the other
not
side
here to
is
help
most
us
of the
play,
lead.
and he doesn't have Realm Warp. Kiba's looking for entry into this play, and Attila
Ah, Kiba, that is so smooth. Flash out of Attila, but now the turnaround is pretty strong. Senkux with the stolen Realm Warp means some danger, and Kiba has to flash back out in time, but Viking now stepping forward, looking for a Storm, bringing himself as an Ultra Shock laser. Turns himself into Master Chief with that Spartan laser over the wall, brought down from the heavens.
Charging up, let it rip. Astralis lose their support, and Keeper has been... well, I mean, this is the problem with the Amumu, right? Keeper's been looking for the aggressive plays. Amumu has ways in, not really ways out, especially when you're dealing with the cleanse, the Yuumi ult, just the raw mobility of the Zeri. If the play doesn't go well, you're probably getting run down. That's what happens there. I mean, credit to Astralis for bringing the Realm Warp to play. They stole that away to try and get Senkux to the play a little earlier, but it hasn't really worked out for them. And now with X7 taking that kill, they are actually even in gold. It's another kill onto that Zeri, and let's take a moment to talk about Attila.
Oh, yes.
Because last couple of weeks, besides, you know, jungle change, actually, Attila has been the person who has been benefiting the most, I would say, on this new kind of style of play from X7, where it is a little bit more patient. Of course, in this game, he could really tell that, but
3-0-1 on the Zeri, nice.
It has been more measured, more considered. And even though this is fast play, you can see the reasoning behind the plays rather than just, yep, we're going for a fight. And Attila has been a big part of that. He has been getting resources. He's been doing a lot of scaling on Tristanas, on Ezreals. And with this Zeri, 3 kills, he is set once again to be a huge carry for X7.
Astralis, though, looking to secure the first turret for themselves and do so in mid lane with the second Herald coming in. So that's great news. More gold into Senkux's pockets, who has, as we said, been a bit of a monster on that Silas when available, as Chasey buffers out that Mega Gnar. Mao might be looking for his own engage here, but won't have it happen as Carlson backs away with the Mini Gnar coming through.
For a champion that went 0-2, died at level 1, and then died shortly after, this doesn't look like someone who's been shut down in laning phase. The Korean Challengers top laner, Chasey, bringing out the typical Challenger top lane pick in that Aurelia, and seriously putting some moves on Carlson, who's had to sit there even at 1-0-2 and just eat bad trade after bad trade, lose minions under turret. Chasey is actually getting control of that side lane. That's important for X7. It allows them to have a prio lane to push off and get themselves some footing on the map.
I mean, you and I were tuning into some LCK challenges earlier today with the dulcet tones of Chronicler and Jamada over that one, and they were kind of speaking about the madness of challenges, where these guys have got incredible hands. You can never rule them out because they've got hands, but at the same time, some of the decision-making takes a little bit of work. They've got a bit of growing to do on that front, and Chasey has kind of shown a little bit of that here as he maybe about to find himself the recipient of 4 members coming in to punish his top lane.
Well, he's got a CS lead, but he's still 1-3. Doesn't have a flash for a couple of seconds. They're looking for the timing, but Viking is here.
4v2, make that a 5v2 as the teleport started to come through. Chasey avoids the Mega Gnar into the wall, though. Has got a Vanguard's edge, lands it, but will still surely fall. And that'll be the tower afterwards as well.
Hey, so that is really tricky from Astralis. They just bring so many resources to the table. X7, they come in with Viking there in the right time. You think, heck, yeah, I mean, you've got early game Volibear, lots of power, Aurelia, similar thing. When you bring every member to the table effectively from Astralis, you're still not outplaying that. They overload one side of the map and they take the tower on the other side, though. X7 find the easy cross map of a tower to themselves. Even-ish trade, but getting another kill onto that Aurelia is quite important. We're talking about how they were still kind of off the ground, and it's still going to be difficult for them to shut down that champion later on. They're already kind of reaching their points of power, but Astralis not content to let that happen, completely unanswered.
A lot of members committed, a lot of ultimates committed, but the tower falls, Chasey falls, and X7, though they read the play, couldn't quite defend it, as you said. And they're doing their very best to make sure Chasey doesn't become any more of a problem. And they've done an okay job of that, even if Chasey, as we said, has still managed to keep his CS numbers relevant and will still be a little dangerous, even if not as snowballed as he might have been in other circumstances.
So, of course, Baron spawning in a minute. See how that ends up affecting the map. No one's close to a Dragon Soul Point. It has really been about side lanes and cross maps, and neither team has really managed to land a knockout blow just yet. Both teams really, really happy to pull that trigger.
So much of it as well has been where have Viking and Taxa managed to make things happen? Tempt's been the addition for Viking, whereas it's been Kiba, really, who's been following around his jungler. And both have found decent success, even if I feel Astralis is probably the ones who've largely come out just slightly ahead in this early game. You can see it in the gold, but it's still a very even game, all things said and done. And I feel probably this third dragon might be the moment where it all blows up.
Do you know what? It is great to see this level of contest. Yeah, we do have a minute until our dragon, see how both these teams kind of put up or shut up around that. You can see that Tempt is recalling, has a realm up to enter the fray a little quicker too. And it is going to be the Seraph. So it's more damage from the Rise. If you get locked up in front of him, as even a Meganar, as a Silas, whatever, a lot of these low-range champions, you are going to melt. See if that affects this dragon.
Looking like a Sunfire second for this Aurelia as well, following somewhat in Linkas's Diana footsteps.
Well, could also be that Frostfire. See what
of course, you know, you're not wrong there. I saw the Barmies and made an assumption.
Yeah, well, it's a Song of Ice and Fire, I suppose, between those two items. We are back to the battle of the big boys. We'll call it that. I'm not using the other B word for that one, but this is
There's so many B words. Perhaps we'll just go with battle right now as the dragons spawned and X7 are willing and ready to contest. Senko's kept up a little bit out of here by Chasey's positioning in the bush, and maybe they'll try and turn onto this with one half of the full of the Stuart put down.
Marking Senko.
They're going to find him. Straight in on it, he goes golden though, but all the while, Dragon started on the other side. Look who gets rooted though, kill onto Kiba. Dragon still started. Massive Vanguard edge onto Chrisberg. He dies. Now Casey needs to try and survive, will finally fall, but Carlson has to back himself out of danger. The kick isn't enough. Chasey is dead, but two members have already fallen with Astralis, and what can they do to get on out? The Ultra Shock Laser Attila running wide with the burst, fires over the wall. Tempt on a killing spree, and they'll move back to the dragon, their prize.
You can shut down one side of the map from X7, but you haven't cut down Attila as well. It's a bloody mess in the river. Kills on both sides and plenty of disengage action, but it's X7 that win the fight, and a lot of it is through this Zeri. They get onto Senkux to Chasey and Tempt at the top of the fight, and that really stumps what Astralis are looking for. They're looking to group up for Chrisberg to do so much work, but then Chrisberg takes a step too forward. Not Aurelia, that one champion they've tried so hard to keep out of this game, lands the ult onto them, lands the burst, and though the Aurelia goes down, that is the Twitch down with them. Astralis can't stand and fight after that.
No, they can't, and it's haunted them all season long. Mid-game dragon setups for Astralis have always had their moments, and credit, of course, to Chasey for finding that incredible Vanguard's edge into the backline and getting rid of Chrisberg and all the rest of it. He didn't get to spray and pray as much as he may have wanted. Rosary beads were wanting in that one. But all the same, Astralis still in this game, even if X7, definitely the victors in that fight.
And now what I'm really looking for Astralis is like, okay, that last fight was largely due to superior vision control and positioning from X7 in that Dragon setup. You already called out that Dragon setup, we won't harp on that too much, but the question is, what can they do with their pick champions after this point? You still have Elise Sin, great at finding people within the enemy jungle. The Mumu similar, she's gone forward with the Hex Flash. Not going to be punished just yet, but actually I'm holding the tongue, maybe he is.
Get onto him. He's going to try and turn it around. Now the teleport back might be the angle. Attila taking to a local spark surge over the one Viking. Now looking to get back out. Senkux into the backside, but a flawless duet onto the backside. Chasey, that was gorgeous. Now can he finish it up though? The healing from the Kingslayer is not quite enough. Viking into the backside though, goes back in and dies. Rune pressing onto Carlson, goes Mega, will not survive. Finally goes down to 1-for-1 in that one as well. Mid laner and top laner for top laner and jungler. Into the backside goes Taxa, will die. Tempt is alive, and Attila is free. Firing! X7 come out on top!
It's a red wedding in the top side jungle into the river, and the real difference maker is finally this Yuumi. Yuumi's started to get those levels, started to get those heals, and the amount of effective HP which X7 run through is absurdly high. Astralis actually find a lot of targets. I thought this was going to be a clean wipe. Credit to them for fighting back, and it's just goes to show the level of power both these teams are bringing to it, both in the hands on the keyboards and, of course, the champions on the Rift. See, trades upon trades. Senkux gets another Kingslayer out, takes a lot of HP from Chasey. Look at Carlson at the death of this fight. You think he's down, but that W buys a new lease on life. Maybe you think Chrisberg can turn around, but it's just, at this point, yeah, you've taken down the Aurelia, that's cool, but I mean, Attila talked about them being the big carry for X7 in the last few weeks. They're the ones who stay on top at the end of it, despite some late fight heroics from Astralis.
You should have paid attention across the seas in Essos. Attila, the Dothraki Hun, doing very well in this game indeed. Well, maybe we'll leave off the Game of Thrones.
Maybe you can just hold out the Yuumi in front of you and just go, Dracarys.
the cat that will mount the world.
That's what happens when you actually build a Sunfire cape on Yuumi. Support is
dear, oh dear.
Support is dark and full of terrifying items. So the legend goes.
Our brains are full of terrifying references that are a little bit much for mortal Ken. There's Astralis now in their red side jungle trying to ensure they have some coverage.
But they haven't spotted a ward. Look at that ward just behind red buff. Astralis think they have the vision control, but they're being collapsed on. They're ready for the fight.
Taxa will ward hop away. Chasey gets down the Vanguard's edge, but now the stolen ultimate from the volley bear, not enough. Chasey gets Kiba and Senko's go golden again, but now Taxa does get Chasey. Still, though, it is X7 who are winning this one as Attila over the wall, but look at Chrisberg free firing with the spray, and the prey Tempt doing what they can at 2-4-1 right now. As Carlson to the backside of it goes golden. Carlson trying to survive this one best he can. We'll get the Mega Nara to the wall. Does not survive with the zoomies, but Chrisberg goes invisible, but not for long. The burst fire secures him. An ace for X7 again.
There he is. That is the premier teamfight AD carry across the ERLs. Attila has done it for seasons, and he's back again. 10-0-7 on the Zeri. What can't this guy do in this game? Attila is here to play.
Absolute mess of a fight, but Astralis committed everything and cannot touch the Zeri. She still has flash.
Doesn't even need to use it. And again, it is some heroics from Astralis which are making these fights close, but you aren't getting the Zeri. Goes down to hundreds of HP. It's just not close enough. And what really swung that fight for me was X7's vision control again. We talked about it around the last Dragon. Of course, that's coming up again now. It allowed them to call Tempt to the fight early, teleport in, and he came in with guns blazing. Has 3.5 items now. Next time he comes into the fight, he's going to be firing a cannon out of AP damage too. Speaking of cannons, that Zap cannon from Attila doing so much work. Looking to start up this Dragon.
Background spinning up. An absolute huge railgun damage. Viking to the backside though. Taxa tries to get in. He gets onto Attila, but he still has that flash. Finally falls. So does the Yuumi. But what about the rest of X7? Chasing the backside with that Vanguard's edge, doing what they can. But now, what can Senkux and Carlson do? Kingslayer doing what it can to keep Senkux topped off. The boulder thrown in, but Carlson into Mini. Will still be just the two top laners remaining. A 4-for-4 and a bloody fight it was again.
And I am so sorry if anyone has any attachment to any main characters in this story, but you should have read the title on the book. Everyone is mortal in this game. These teams trying to find a step beyond it towards that top end of the table, but everyone here is susceptible to their own dooms. Bloody hell, what a fight again. X7 Astralis butting heads, mashing their keyboards. Serious work by Taxa on that Lee Sin. We saw it a little bit in spring, how he could find those miracle kicks. And it's once again, heartbreakingly for Astralis, not enough. X7 have so many carries on this team. This time it's Chasey on the Aurelio. He's been biting the bullet in so many of these trades. Astralis so content to put them down. It is actually going to be that Sunfire, not the Frostfire Gauntlet. It seems like Fire won out over Ice in the decision-making tree. But at the end of that fight, I would love to see the damage that Sunfire has done. That's got to be hilarious. Actually, you know, observers, is there any way we can hover over these Sunfire capes from Aurelia? I would love to see how much damage came out from that, because the amount of time they were stuck in melee range was absurd. Maybe you have to see how much that can do around a potential Baron fight. Of course, Soul Point achieved by X7. Now they have control over the map, and they are looking to see what they can do to Astralis with it.
Absolutely. And of course, not quite at level 16 yet. For that Aurelia, when that rank 3 of the ultimate available was still hopping forwards, lands a flawless duet, gets on attacks, of course, burned absolutely everything in the kitchen sink to get onto Attila last time, and did finally manage to secure the kick, even if it was very, very close indeed. But now, down those playmaking tools to do even more work next time around.
Attila, again, just becoming a moving artillery platform as well as a gunnery platform. He's now has to deal with a Chempunk Chainsword. Taxa really wanted to be a Space Marine today. He's picked up the Chainsword, of course, famous in that franchise.
Suffer not the AD carry to live.
It is better to die for the enemy AD carry than to live for yourself, says Taxa. As, he's really trying to do that, did that in the last fight. And the extra healing reduction could be the difference maker if you can make it onto the right person. Attila's going in, though.
In the grim darkness of the mid lane, there is only war.
Going again.
Get onto Carlson. Do what they can. Viking has to ultimate out, but the Vanguard's edge will force Carlson into a precarious position. The Rune Warp secures the Twitch. The Rat is splatted. And in they come with the Realm War to try and chase for more attacks against the kick, but it's not going to be enough. He gets a Gore Drink, a heal, but it's still a double to Attila. And X7 managed to secure 3 and could look to secure the game.
Oh, it's finally a clean fight, and who does it come off of? Attila finding the angle. He opens up on Astralis. They have to retreat, and they can't quite manage it. X7, they were looking all but down and out halfway through the split. But this time, chasing in for those final kills, chasing into that second place and catching up to Astralis at 9-5.
The undefeated run with Viking continues and they claw their way up the table. Do you believe in the late split redemption? It's not quite over yet. They run out of minions and there's still half a turret HP to go. So X7, hold off on that death knell for now.
It's been renewed for another season. Hold on to your seats. Wait till the next episode 8. That's when all the kills come in, apparently, in this big old timeline. Of course, there is 2 minutes until the next dragon spawns. Baron already up. They could very well be our battlegrounds, but it feels like actually it's been X7 punishing Astralis when they've been looking to position. Oh my god. Okay, finally get that. It's actually not as much as I thought, but I'm going to imagine most of that damage. So. I would have loved to see it after that dragon fight, see how much of it had come from specifically that fight. Attila. Oh no, Mr. So President, the hero carry, he's caught.
They're going to be able to try and do what they can. Attila throws down that ultimate, doing what he can. Does a lot of damage, it's still not enough. A shutdown going the way of Kiba. He starts off the kills, he'll finish them off here. Baron's alive, and the AD carry is dead for 43 seconds.
Oh gosh, what a death to give up as well. He has been really the main character, dancing around, spear dancing around Astralis, but a hand reaches up from the floor. The fight's not done yet. Astralis looking to make this interesting.
Senkux decides he wants the edge of the Vanguard's blade as this whole ultimate last chapter comes in. It's 1-for-1 with that edge on Vanguard. 1-for-1 in the kills as well, but the damage afterwards, it's so extreme. Yuumi plus Zoomies equals Doomies for Astralis. Absolutely everyone is murdered by JC. You can put him down in the laning phase. You can't put him down in the Baron pit as Temp finishes off the top laner and finishes off the game.
Lee Sin try to recall, try to do something, but you can't deal with a level 17 Rise. It takes an extra episode or 2, but X7 consigning Astralis to be level with X7 at 9-6.
Ambition proved it best in 2018. Prove yourself and rise straight away in that Nexus death.